Hello friends, this video on Wave Optics Part 20 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Please make sure that you have watched all the videos till Part 19 before going ahead with Part 20. So what was this phenomenon of diffraction? As I told, interference and diffraction are very closely related phenomenon. So what did Young do? In Young's double slit experiment, he replaced the two slits by a single slit. Now what was observed? Everything else remained the same. There was one source S, which was a normal ordinary source, and then instead of two slits, there was just one slit. So the light passed through that one slit and a pattern was observed on the screen. But the unique thing was that this time the pattern was quite different. So what was the difference in the pattern? This time the pattern which was obtained had a central maximum which was very wide as compared to the interference pattern, and this was followed by alternate dark and light bands, and the intensity on both sides kept decreasing considerably. That means the central band, the central maximum was very wide and the corresponding secondary minima, maxima and minima, they reduced in intensity to a large extent. So this broad central bright and alternate dark and bright bands on both sides and decreasing intensity, this kind of surprised people. That means there is not only interference, but there is some other phenomena as well which also takes place under similar conditions and circumstances. So what was that phenomenon? That phenomenon was nothing but diffraction. So what is diffraction of light? How do we define diffraction of light? It is nothing but the phenomenon of spreading of light when it faces an obstacle. That is how we define diffraction. So in this case, the closed region acts as the obstacle. So these are the regions which act as the obstacles here. So in this case, so what was the difference in the pattern? The first point was broad central bright band was formed. Then what else? Alternate dark and bright bands on either sides. And decreasing intensity on both sides. Intensity was decreasing on either sides. Right? So now let us look at the reason why this kind of pattern was obtained and why this experiment was used in order to find out this new phenomenon of diffraction. Well, let us look at the diffraction pattern in little more detail. So this is how diffraction takes place. You see, this is the incoming wave. It passes through a single slit. So this is often known as Young's single slit experiment. So through this single slit, this kind of diffraction pattern was obtained on the screen. So if you look at the central portion, it is quite wide. If you look at the next bright bands, it is thinner. And the next one even more thinner. So the decrease in intensity is very remarkable, right? So now let us try to understand why these kind of maxima why this kind of pattern was obtained when a single slit was used. Well, the basic idea in this case would be, how do we explain the formation of maxima and minima? In that, the basic idea would be to divide this slit into smaller parts and then we will add the contribution of each part. That is what superposition of waves tell us, right? If you have some 10 waves, then the contribution from each of them together add up to form the resultant wave. So similarly, what we will do here, we have the slit. So we are dividing this slit into smaller parts. If you see here, we have marked 2 points, M1 and M2, so that we can divide the slits into smaller parts and then we can add up the contribution from each part to find out the intensity at any particular point. So the incoming wave front is incident parallel to the plane of the slit, which shows that the sources are in phase. So we are assuming that the sources from the source which is giving this light, they are in phase, because of which this incoming wave fronts are parallel to each other. So let us suppose there is some arbitrary point P on the screen where we want to find out the intensity. So for that we have to calculate the path difference, because path difference is the starting point to start any discussion on the fringe pattern obtained, because path difference is something which decides how the interference is taking place. So here path difference will be, this is my slit, Ln is the slit, so the path difference is nothing but Np minus Lp. So what is Np minus Lp? So see, we are assuming the rays to be parallel because we are assuming that they are in phase with each other, and this point P is little far. So what would be the difference? The difference is this much, that is Nq. So we can say that if this is perpendicular, which is drawn here, so Np minus Lp is nothing but, because this Lp will be equal to Qp, so the extra distance is Nq. And what is this Nq? If you look at Nq from this triangle, then you can say that if this angle is theta, this entire angle is 90, so this angle would be 90 minus theta, and this is 90, so this small angle would become theta, right? So looking at this triangle, you can say that NQ is nothing but, this distance is A is nothing but width of the slit. So if you look at this triangle, sine theta is equal to perpendicular, so perpendicular is NQ divided by hypotenuse, that is A. So we can say NQ is equal to A sine theta. So here we can write it as A sine theta, right? Now this is the path difference between the points L and N. Now there was a scientist named Fresnel who studied diffraction in detail. He was the one who was involved in all the vigorous calculations related to diffraction to find out the pattern which was obtained on the screen. So Fresnel did his calculations by dividing this slit into smaller parts, as you can see here, L, M1, M1, M2, M2N, and so on, and then he summed up the contributions from all the elements in the slit. So what did he find? He found that at the central point, that means at this point, this is my central maximum, the pattern is somewhat like this. So it was found that at the central point, this theta, because right now we are assuming the point P to be some point somewhere here, right? So now when we are talking about the central fringe, we are talking about the point which is lying linear to this center of the fringe, right? Center of the slit. So that means for the central maximum, theta is equal to 0. So at central point, theta is equal to 0. Now if theta is equal to 0, that implies that the path difference will be equal to 0, right? Now if the path difference is equal to 0, that means all the parts into which we have divided it, all those parts will contribute completely. Therefore, the intensity will be maximum, because that is what we have seen before also. Whenever the path difference is 0, that means whenever we want to find out the intensity at such a point which is at equal distances from all the sources, then the intensity is maximum, because all the points will contribute their fullest. So in this case also, no matter how many small parts you have divided this ln into, but the point, this center point is at equal distance from all of them. Therefore, all of them will contribute their maximum, and therefore the intensity will be maximum. So this implies that all parts of slit will contribute. This implies that the intensity would be maximum, right? Therefore, we say that central maximum occurs central maximum occurs at theta is equal to 0. So this is about the central maximum. Because in diffraction pattern, we will talk about three things. One is central maxima, one is secondary maxima. Secondary maxima means the remaining maxima which are there. Because the central maxima is little more significant here because it is very wide. It has maximum intensity, right? And all other maxima will be known as secondary maxima. And we will also talk about the minima. Correct? So in this case, we talked about the central maxima. So you understood why central maxima occurs at theta is equal to 0, because the path difference comes out to be in this case as a sine theta. At the central point, theta is 0, therefore path difference is 0, therefore all the parts will contribute, and as a result the intensity is maximum. Now let us talk about the secondary maxima. So how is it that the secondary maxima are with little less intensity? Okay, so let us look at that part. Now, Fresnel, with his calculations, he found that the secondary maxima occurred at theta is equal to n plus 1 by 2 lambda by a. So this is what was found by Fresnel's calculation, that all the secondary maxima were observed for these values of theta, n plus 1 by 2 lambda by a. Now let us consider the first value of n, that is n is equal to 1. So when n is equal to 1, theta will come out to be 3 lambda divided by 2a. Now what is this 3 lambda divided by 2a? So in this case, Fresnel observed that minima were found for values of theta satisfying n lambda by a, where n was nothing but plus minus 1, 2 and so on. So this was the condition to obtain minima on the diffraction pattern. So Fresnel told that under this condition, that is theta is equal to n lambda by a, the minima were observed on the diffraction pattern. So let us see how this minima was obtained at these specific angles. Let us consider n is equal to 1. So for n is equal to 1, theta is equal to lambda by a. Right? Now let us suppose that we have divided this slit into small parts. Now if you look at this part M1, so for every M1 in the portion LM, there exists another M2 in MN, that means this M1 and these M2. These 2 points are such that the contribution from M1 and M2 will cancel out each other because both of them are on the opposite side. So they will have equal and opposite contribution, and as a result, contribution of M1 and M2 will be out of phase and therefore cancel out. Therefore, the net contribution from all such elements, the contribution from all elements between L and M, will cancel out with all the elements between M and N. As a result, the net intensity will be equal to 0 at theta is equal to lambda by a. So we can say that contribution of all elements in LM, for example M1, will cancel out the contribution from all elements in Mn, for example M2. Therefore, net intensity will be equal to 0 at theta is equal to lambda by a. So we can say that minima occur at theta is equal to n lambda by a. That means minima will occur when the path difference is equal to n lambda by, when the path difference is equal to n lambda. We get this from this because this is a theta is equal to n lambda. So this a theta can be written as a sine theta is equal to n lambda. So a theta is nothing but a sine theta because theta is very small in this case. So this is equal to n lambda. So the condition for minima in diffraction pattern is a sine theta is equal to n lambda, where a is the width of the slit, lambda is the wavelength of light which is used. Now let us look at the diffraction pattern's secondary maxima. So till now we talked about the central maxima which occurs at theta is equal to 0. Then we talked about the minima for which the condition is a sine theta is equal to n lambda. Now let us consider the secondary maxima. For secondary maxima, the condition was found to be theta is equal to n plus 1 by 2 lambda by a. So here also let us consider n is equal to 1. So what do we get? Theta will be equal to 3 lambda divided by 2a. Now what is this 3 lambda by 2a? 3 lambda by 2a is nothing but it lies midway between two dark fringes. If we look at the pattern is somewhat like this. Right? So this corresponds to n is equal to 0. So this is my first minima. This is my second minima. So the first minima corresponds to n lambda, which is 1 lambda. So this first minima corresponds to 1 lambda. Second minima corresponds to 2 lambda. Third minima corresponds to 3 lambda. So what is this? This corresponds to 1.5 lambda by a. Right? So this basically corresponds to 1.5 lambda. That means this lies between two dark fringes. So it is talking about this region. Right? So this is midway between two dark fringes. So since it is midway between two dark fringes, we can assume that it must be bright. But anyways, we will prove it. Now let us suppose that we divide this slit into 3 parts. This entire slit we have divided into 3 parts. So what happens now? If I consider this is my slit, I divided it into 3 parts. So let us suppose I consider first 2/3 as one portion. So what would be the path difference of this part, the first 2/3 of the slit? This is 2/3 and this is remaining 1/3. Right? This is my slit. LN. Correct? So now, first we consider first 2/3 of the slit. So what would be the path difference? So the path difference would be equal to 2 by 3a into theta. 2/3 of the slit, so 2/3 of a, that is the width of the slit for now, multiplied by theta. And what is theta? Theta is 3 lambda by 2a. So this will be 2 by 3a into 3 lambda by 2a. So this comes out to be lambda. So now this lambda, so that means this is the path difference for the first 2/3 portion of the slit. Now this lambda can be divided into 2 halves with lambda by 2 path difference. This wavelength lambda can be divided into 2 halves. So now if you divide this part into 2 halves with lambda by 2 wavelength, the contribution from each half will cancel out. So that means the contribution from this upper 2/3 is cancelling out amongst itself. So this 2/3 portion also internally we divided it into lambda by 2. This lambda was divided into lambda by 2 and lambda by 2. So this cancels out each other. As a result, only 1/3 is remaining. So that means only this 1/3 contributes to the intensity. right? So that means only this portion contributes to the intensity, and as a result of this, the intensity in this case is not zero. That means there is some intensity, but the intensity is greatly reduced because out of this whole slit, only 1/3 of the slit is contributing to the intensity. In case of central maxima, all portions of the slit were contributing to the intensity. So the intensity was maximum. But in this case, only 1/3 is contributing to the intensity. Therefore, even though the intensity is not zero at this portion, right now we are talking about this point. So it says that here the intensity is not zero. So we derive two things. Intensity is not zero, but intensity is reduced. Correct? Okay. So now here we had considered n is equal to 1. Similarly, if you consider n is equal to 2, then what happens to theta? In that case, theta becomes 5/2 lambda by a. Right? So when theta becomes 5/2 lambda by a, if you follow similar calculation, in that case you divide the slit into 5 equal parts, and again you will see that only 1/5 of the part will remain and contribute to intensity. Similarly, when you put n is equal to 3, theta becomes equal to 7 lambda by 2a. So in this case, 1/7 of the portion remains, because here you divide, in the first case you divide it into 5 different parts. You consider the first 4/5 of the part. You will see that it comes out to be integral multiple, which will again cancel out amongst each other, right? Because when you consider, so this is how we see that as the value of n increases, that means as we go away from the central fringe, the contribution of the slit to the intensity decreases, and as a result the intensity keeps decreasing, right? So therefore, with increasing value of n, the intensity weakens. So this is how we were able to explain the diffraction pattern, that is the formation of central maximum, formation of secondary maxima whose intensity keeps decreasing as we move away from the center, and the formation of minima. However, the exact calculations which derived to these values were done by Fresnel by dividing this slit into smaller parts and then taking into consideration the contribution of each part and then summing them up. So we will not discuss all those things in that detail now. For now, we should know why these kind of patterns are observed, right? So we have already learned that. So I hope now diffraction is also clear to you. So it is very important now. Thank you. Please visit examfear.com to watch free educational videos, try free online tests, get the best quality study materials, study from the best tutors and mentors, and much more. Thank you once again.